Good evening. Welcome back. I took a break. I went home for holiday, then I came back. I didn't know what to do next also. We're going to do attachment styles for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And then we shall do a series on marriage. Then we shall know how it will go from there. I prefer not keeping a rigid objective of what to do next. Just kind of going into it. So today we're going to do a free run on the myth of a soulmate. You've heard of people claiming that there's someone who's meant for you, a soulmate, let's say. In psychology, or when during wartime, when people are aiming to fight the enemy, there is a phase called the dehumanization phase, where you start naming someone some name. Let's say if you're Roman, you'll call your enemies barbarian. If you're Greek, you'll call them the same name, barbarians who are subhuman. Let's say if you're a Nazi, you know about Jews, so they're kind of weird and all that. If you're if you're from this tribe, and then the other tribe are weird, they're witches, they eat human beings. So that is the dehumanization phase, where you take someone into a subhuman level, and then now you can justify doing, should I say, unseemly acts on them, or even murder. So that's always the phase which comes before war, where there are constant messages about the other person. I think the perfect example for this in our age is how the movies of recent time, especially the Marvel movies, have been showing America as the good guy and Russia as the bad guy. So that's how you dehumanize people, so that you justify any violence towards them. And then also in all these movies, the Arabs are always the toxic people, the bad people. And that was the propaganda before the 9/11 attack. So I think you get it in real time that for the most part, people see Arabs and Muslims are as terrorists, and that's the propaganda from movies. Okay, so that now it seems justified when you kill, let's say, a million Muslims because you are trying to look for oil, then it's normal. But if you kill one American, then you're fighting against democracy. If I hope you get what I'm saying. So it's called the face of the other. When you take away the face of the other, then now you can do whatever you want to them. So that they usually say in wartime, if you have time to look into somebody's face, you might actually stop mid trigger. Okay, but if you don't, if you see me as a black kid with a black sweater, some poor economic economically challenged person, then that's it. The people who do marketing usually portray Africa as this poor nation. Africa seems to be one nation, as this poor nation struggling with hunger, floods, corruption, and all that. But to be true, these things are available in every nation, every society. Whenever it's trying to make the leap from where they are to the next stage, they always have that stage where they're all these social evils. And let's say America, with its high divorce rates, is usually the benchmark for African nations on social standards of what to do. So I hope you get what I'm saying. So we shall call this video the myth of the perfect other, where there's someone perfect out there who is waiting for you. So is there such a thing as a soulmate? Is there such a thing as someone who is meant for you, someone who, when you finally meet, things are going to fall in place? Again, in psychology, it's called the myth of arrival. I think it's philosophy. So in the myth of arrival, you say, once I buy a good microphone, then my videos are going to pick up. Or once I just learn how to be more articulate, then my videos are going to pick up. Or once I find a perfect partner, then my life is going to fall into place. Once I buy an iPhone 15 or an iPhone 25, then everything is going to fall into place. Once I get a job, once I finish medical school, once I get married, once my parents start loving me, then my life will fall into place. This, for for the most part, is, I think that's how human beings live their lives, but it's a myth for a reason, because it's non-existent. There is no more paradise after Eden. There is no place. There is no human being who's going to give you perfect peace. There is no situation whatsoever which can give you continuous enjoyment. In fact, they usually show that women who marry rich men in their 40s and 50s, they present to psychiatric wards with mental issues, mental illnesses, because we, as human beings, we derive meaning from what we do and also from leisure, but it's a balance of both. People who seem to do something seem to stay younger for long, and they seem to live longer. Of course, except those people who overwork, let's say. People usually claim that if you exercise long enough, then you're going to find a mate, you're going to find a girlfriend, you're going to find I don't know what. But actually, bodybuilders have shorter lifespans than normal people. So again, it's, you get something. It's, there seems to be some perfect normal, let's say, and then there's abnormal on both sides. So if you overdo something, you're going to tilt over to the negative side, and if you underdo that, you're going to tilt over to the other side. That's why, for the most part, for most societies, there's something called the middle class ideal, where you have enough money, let's say, for for you to provide for your kids and maybe a car and a house, which seem elusive nowadays, but yeah, that's the middle class ideal. But nowadays, people overstretch that. They, just having a normal life is pathological. Anyway, you get, that's the myth of arrival. So there's also the myth of arrival in looking for a partner. Again, just to give it some background, there are three attachment styles, as I said previously: the secure attachment style, the anxious attachment style, and the avoidant style. Then there's a mixture of both, which is anxious avoidant, fearful avoidant, dismissive avoidant. I think you've heard of those. So people who are avoidant are usually the ones who tend to have standards, let's say. I want someone who is this and this, 6 foot tall, I don't know, 8 feet tall, maybe. Someone who is, the size of a giant, or let's say. So people who tend to have standards are usually the ones who have the worst kind of relationship. So it's, who knows? And then they usually claim that many people who are single tend to be avoidant. Again, this is not me shaming avoidance, but it's good to know what you're doing to yourselves. I think the entire red pill movement and feminism movement is based on maybe what might be called naturally avoidant. If you're trying to be strong, independent, whatever, before you meet me, like, that's avoidant from the outset. You believe that dependence is a pathological problem. It's parasitism. I mean, how can you have a relationship that way if you don't want me in the first place? And then the people from red pill believe that women are this vampires who are just out to suck you and, you know finish you. And it's hard to cooperate with someone who you actually believe to be the enemy. Just as you said in the previous, as you said here, that in the pre-war times there's something called the dehumanization phase. So I can check the feminist propaganda. For a long time, feminism has taught that men are the issue. So it happens that nowadays in America, many men are not dating anymore. So that's how it goes. You dehumanize, then war begins. Dehumanize, war. So it's always that. So it seems that where we are now, this will be an attack on the philosophy of finding the perfect other. So since there is no human being who is perfect, is it really possible to find someone who is perfect for you? I know the counter argument is something called compatibility. For me, myself, as maybe a student, what I look for most in a partner is somebody I can have conversations with, So probably that might be called intelligence or social skills, let's say. Those are things which matter to me most, more than, I don't know, size of body form or feature or beauty, let's say. So conversations are more attractive to me. And then it happens that my love language is words of affirmation. So if somebody is rude to me or rude to people on the outside, like, we are not going to go anywhere that way. So compatibility then means somebody you can relate with. If no matter how beautiful someone is to me, if they're not respectful, like, there's nothing. They're incompatible with me, let's say. So compatibility is not the same as finding a soulmate or a perfect soulmate. In fact, the idea of a soulmate is actually spiritualistic or mythological, where they teach that, or somewhere out there, there's someone who's just ready to do whatever you want. I mean, it's it's foolish to say the least, but I think it's good to know. So people who aim to find the perfect partner tend to be single for the longest time, and immediately they get married, they're the ones who divorce. The number one reason for divorce, if I know the statistics, is actually unhappiness. Unhappiness means I married you, I discovered you are a human being as flawed as I am. I'm like, nope, not me. And then the divorce rate for second marriages tends to be higher than that of the first marriages. I remember reading somewhere that the divorce rate in some Western countries is even as high as 70%. So we know that that is going to come down to Africa because, well, some of us just follow what is done in the West. I think it's called aping, some slavish way of thinking. Okay, so we can also use divorce to show that there's nothing like a perfect soulmate, because people, I mean, it's usually a movie like where you meet somebody today, and for the next 2 days you're running about, you're in perfect total sync. If I have a red flag myself, it is the fact that something appears too good to be true. Let's say you come to me, you have an offer where I can make this amount of money in 1 day. That's a red flag to me, a big one. So if somebody comes and they have no personality, they can never say no to whatever I say. You meet someone today and for 2 days you want to get married. Like, no, it does not work like that. So what do you think? Is there something like a soulmate? For me, I believe there's nothing like that. I really believe these are relationships work. You find someone, you build a friendship if possible, and you know their love language, their attachment style. Try to be nice to them. They might try to be nice to you. Yeah, you can control what you can do, right? You can't control what they can do. But then there are these two groups of people, men in the red pill movement and the feministic movement. They tend to see men as the enemy and women as the enemy. I don't think it's fair to date people who see you as an enemy, first of all. If men are the problem, why would you want to convince such a person that you're actually not a problem? I think just let them alone. And if somebody believes that women are all selfish, out to get your money, just stay off. Just stay off. Okay, in the Bible, there's one story of Isaac and Rebecca and the story of Eliezer, the foster son of Abraham, or the chief slave, servant, slave. So this man is sent by Abraham to go look for a wife for Isaac. And then he goes, prays for an angel, shown some lady who fetches water for camels, and that lady is told, you're going to be a wife for my master, and she accepts. So people usually use that to explain the notion that God actually has someone somewhere set for you. And I believe that what Abraham was praying for was, he's just praying for a normal person. Like, find someone who obeys God, at least honors God above men, who is reasonable, who is whatever. I usually think that when God tells us to find people who are good for us. I think it just means people who are obedient to his commandments. I don't think God comes down and be like, this one is the guy you should date. I don't think God uses that. If people pray for signs, God show me a sign. Like if somebody is an alcoholic, they are an adulterer, they are corrupt people, they gamble. What sign are you looking for? I mean, unless you're satanic, unless you it's cross, it's gross, it's idiotic. God has a law, God has a system, God has commandments. Find someone who follows that. That's the sign you're looking for. If someone is mean to you, mean to children, mean to people, they're not being bold and alpha. They're just bad people. Like stop. Yeah. If a lady is toxic, they have a I don't know a body count of 100. Why do you think you're going to change them to love you? Man, if somebody has no respect for deities and gods and kingdoms and nations and rules and society, like, do you need any more for that? So this was the idea of a soulmate. For me, what I know, there is nothing like a soulmate. I've had a girlfriend and another one before, and they were good people to me. We vibed well. We dated for more than a year, more than 2 years. And when we broke up because of the negative switch, because we were tired, we had issues with some fundamental issues, we were young, inexperienced, we didn't want to get married at that time, we were 19, so we broke up. So the fact that you can move from one girlfriend to another girlfriend means that there is no girlfriend who is set out for you. And even when you pray, you remember in the previous video that when you pray for God to show you someone to marry, it does not come down and point to someone, except for the case of Isaac. And that's the only case in the Bible. But for even Isaac and Rebecca actually quarreled about Esau or Esau and Jacob to the last, right? So if that's a perfect soulmate, why did they quarrel then? Why did Rebecca lie? Why did you get what I'm saying? So there's no such thing. There's no perfect other. There's no stop searching for the impossible. If you yourself are not perfect, why do you want someone who's perfect? Human is the best you can get, and that's good enough. Normal is good. Bye.